Hey, everybody, welcome into Unsportsmanlike Hangouts. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we got Ray Lawry on with us, the Old Dominion leading rusher, all-time leading rusher. Spent some times in the CFL, the XFL, the NFL, and we'll get into that. Ray, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Man, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Ray, let's just get right into it, man. What are your early influences? Like, who was an influence for you playing football at a young age?
Oh, well, it's funny. When I was younger, my dream was always to be in the NBA. So I always played football as just like stay in shape. So like growing up, I always wanted to go to the EC, play for the Tar Heels, and initially play for the Sixers. Those were always my dreams. And then once high school came around, I wasn't growing anymore. So I had to be a role myself like that. Those NBA dreams, they want to be cut short. Because you're only 5'9". So I ended up just picking off. I ended up just sticking in football. Then eventually, it just changed my dreams to be an NFL. But growing up, and I always play football because of my dad. My dad went to Kings, so he was always the main one that pushed me to play football.
True, and you talk about basketball a little bit. Then you end up being a 1,000 yard or a
Yeah.
1,000 point scorer in high school, just kind of by accident. You weren't even like playing your senior year, and you just kind of stumbled on the court and end up getting a
Yeah,
1,000 points still. So that just shows the basketball background right
yeah.
there a little bit. But talking more so about high school and your high school experience, what was the recruiting process like when you were in high school?
The recruiting process was good. I went to a couple rivals camps, and think they were like ESPN little combine camps. I went a couple of those, and then also did some. I remember going to Penn State camp, Ohio State camp, and a Cincinnati camp. Did a couple road trips, so those were good. And then I got my first offer, I think, my junior year from Temple, and then I wasn't really heavily recruited, And I went to Old Dominion, small school. My final four came down to OU, Temple, Western Michigan, and Maryland. And I would say I had like five other offers from like couple D1 AA schools and other like small D1 FBS schools. So I mean, I think I made a good choice of going to Old Dominion. So I long run, I feel like it was good.
100%. That kind of shows Western Michigan was interested in you. They had signed Tom Flacco at the time, so they're kind of
Yeah,
recruiting heavily in that South Jersey area, and they're trying to get there. And then you saw what that team turned into. They were a 12-0 team that produced a top 10 pick when
yeah,
Corey Davis. So
yeah.
who's
They were
actually a
stacked. They
free
were
agent
stacked.
still. So
Is he? Corey Davis is? I didn't know that.
yeah, he's still a free agent at the moment, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, he
Yeah,
should be getting looks now. The wide
yeah,
receiver market this offseason has been pretty ridiculous, though. I mean,
yeah,
you got the best wide receiver arguably in the league getting traded, just shockingly, and then that team goes back and spends what they got back for him, a second round pick on a receiver that I like personally, but he's nowhere near DeAndre Hopkins, and he's
yeah,
limited in a way with his frame size and everything. But
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
story for a different day. What was the
That
journey
was
like when you did get to Old Dominion? What was the journey like to becoming the all-time leading rusher?
so originally when I got to ODU, I didn't come in there as a starter. Although I was freshman of the year, I didn't really start seeing the field till like third, fourth game of the season. Now going in there, some workouts during camp, I was always like the fourth, fifth string, and then I just got opportunities throughout the season, and I just made the most of my opportunity. So the first opportunity I got, I remember was the NC State game, and started running back at the time. I remember we're at like a 3 yard line and couldn't get in on the first and the second. So they put me in and I scored as soon as I got in. Then it happened the next drive. Same exact thing happened. Put me again then. And then ever since that drive, like I just remained like the starter and like staying like throughout like that throughout the whole season. So yeah, so it was a bumpy road. I mean, at first, I had thoughts of transferring to Temple. I remember after one game, I went over to my parents and was like, "No, I don't want to be here anymore." It's guys that are getting on the field, all the freshmen that are getting on the field that are, I know they aren't better than me, but no, it's just the way it was. So my parents just told me, no, to keep going, get out.
Yeah, it is tough coming in as a freshman because, I mean, being from your rival high school, I watched you just absolutely dominate, especially Clearview with my
Yeah.
dad being the head coach, just dominate us. And I actually blew my knee out the game before we were about to play your senior year. So I was pretty
Oh,
upset
damn,
I
for
never got
real?
to play against you. But
Oh, wow.
speaking of Temple, Raquel Armstead did welcome me back after my knee injury with a nasty stiff arm in the scrimmage right after I came back from my injury, like 3 plays, and I just tackled this real fast kid on a jet sweep. Next play, he literally, it's not even like he just stiff armed me. He like Saquon planted me in the ground and put me in the coffin. So that's the reason why he was a
he's a
4th round
dog.
pick
He's
for
a
the
dog.
Jacksonville Jaguars and everything. But they
he's a
were
dog.
also another team that was heavily in, obviously, with the South Jersey area, recruiting with guys like that. So. And they produced a pretty big talent in P.J. Walker, who was a very successful quarterback who was getting looks with the NFL, who was practically the star in the face of the XFL itself. So after you became the Old Dominion all-time leading rusher and you started to really make a name for yourself over those 4 years, you got invited to the Senior Bowl. And you were taking handoffs from J.T. Barrett and some other big-name, high-profile guys at the time. What was that experience like?
Yeah, well, it wasn't the Senior Bowl. It was the East-West Shrine Bowl. Same thing. Yeah, but so that was it's funny story about that. I wasn't originally invited to that game, so I missed like the first 3 days of the whole thing because it's a week-long process. The game's at the end of the week, but at the beginning of the week, you do all the, they do all the measurements on you. You do all the interviews with all different teams. You do all the a lot of important stuff happens in the first couple of days. So I remember at first they put me on the waiting list. So they put me on the waiting list, and then there was an injury. I think our injury happened on like the first day of the practice, and then the second day of practice, I guess he re-injured it. I think it was Chase Edmonds or something with his ankle. So then I flew there. I had to rush to the airport, and I flew there. Got there. I say the second and last day. I was there for 3 days. So the first day I got there, it was like the last practice. So I had to learn the whole offense, all that in literally one night. Because the next day it was game time. I think there was one like walkthrough before the game, but it was game time. So I was like, when I first got there, I was literally studying the playbook all night, trying to catch up because those guys were there like 4 days there. So they had advantage, but I mean, it's only a week, so it's only so much everyone that really knows. So I once I got there, I blended right in, and then I held my own. And once I got to the game time, I was the leading rusher in the game. I only played one half. I didn't get into the game for the second half because I was there because I got there so late. And yeah, so it was a cool game though. Playing with JT, a bunch of those Ohio State guys, it's cool. They loved them out there. The game was in Florida, but damn near all of Ohio State Buckeyes fans were all there, and he was a freaking celebrity when we were there. So that was pretty cool. And it was overall just a great experience being there.
You speak on just like you had to be ready, like someone hitting you on speed dial at all times for any type of opportunity. How many like type of situations have that happened to you where you've gotten a short notice phone call and you find yourself like practically in the cut the next day? Like,
yeah, that happened. Then. It happened. Got cut from Cincinnati. Then came home. Just chilling. My girlfriend had drove in up from Virginia to see me in Jersey because she had seen me at the time because I was in Cincinnati. And then literally as soon as she got in there, I got a call from Kansas City Chiefs and I had to fly out there that night. And then it was just for a workout though. They weren't even supposed to sign me. It was just a workout. It's me and like 2 other guys. And then they ended up signing. I had to stay there, get them to mail all my stuff there. Then it's happened then. Trying to think some other times. I can't think of really off the top of my head right now, but there's a lot of like different stuff, different instances like where like you just got to be right at all times because you never know you're going to get a call where you have to go.
Exactly. And in those type of moments, like being a part of professional sports and finally getting those opportunities, was there ever like a moment that not you were like starstruck, but you saw like an idol of yours and it really kind of took you back for a second?
I mean, yeah, when I first got in the NFL, when you first get as a rookie, you always dream of going to the NFL. So when you first get in the locker room, see AJ Green, Andy Dalton, getting in the sauna. You're in the sauna, you see Pat Mahomes just walk in. It's a good feeling. It's like just being around all the guys and all the potential legend Hall of Famers. So that's good. And you build all types of relationships in the locker room. It's like a brotherhood when you're there. So like, I mean, I could say like both the teams I were at least, all those guys are all cool. They're all welcoming. When I remember when I was at Cincinnati, Vontez Burfict, would take us all out to Ruth Chris and like buy everything and cover all our tabs, everything. So like, it was like, he kind of has like a bad rep as being like an asshole and stuff, but like he was actually like the coolest dude I ever met in the league that was like a veteran player. So, and there's other guys like them that are all looking out. So there's times like that, yeah, you look around, you're like, yeah, damn, like I'm really with these guys, and like it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's usually how it goes for those type of guys. Like they have these bad reps. So those are guys like turn the switch on. When they get on the field, they turn into an animal and all that rage and that intensity leaks out. And then when they're off the field, they're usually like the most chill guys and they're all just relaxing and really do a lot of outgoing stuff for people. And the way that they play just creates a whole nother image for them for whatever reason. But speaking of being with Kansas City and Cincinnati, right after the 2018 NFL draft and you went unsigned, how many teams were interested in signing you?
Yeah, so when before the draft, the week leading up, they do every team like pretty much calls their potential draft prospects guys that are on the draft board. So I got on like I got a call from like 22 teams, I say, leading up to the draft. Because I remember I wrote it all down in the book, every team, and I was making sure I was like watching who they're picking off the draft just to keep track of everything. So, and I say once the draft happened, Cincinnati called me in like the 6th round about undrafted free agency. But they said you can like sign with us now or like they can wait it out. So 6th round, I'm like, man, I'm taking my chances. Like I'm not just gonna sign the undrafted free agency winners. Like I don't know, like what 40 some picks left. Like I'm not about to do that. So I waited it out and then ended up got a call from Baltimore. They offered me something, but then called back and said it was like for a mini camp, for rookie mini camp. And then me and my agent, we go to call back Cincinnati and like sign our contract, and then they're like, "Oh well, we don't have that contract anymore. We're going to go. We're going to try to get a punter." So now, hang up the phone with them. Now I'm looking at my parents, and I'm like, "Man, we got nothing. Like we got nothing right now." So I'd say about 2-3 minutes go by. My agent calls me. All right, Cincinnati's back on. Like they're signing you. So then I ended up signing with Cincinnati right there, and that happened.
That's crazy because Nick can attest to this too. That's eerily similar to what happened to Sterling. He had his lined up with the Bengals as well, and then he kind of refuted the offer and he was going to go with the Chargers. They rescinded their offer, and then he was back with the Bengals again. So that was kind of like a very eerily similar story that Sterling had as well. So back-to-back years.
Yeah,
so that's just how they operate.
I was talking to the Chargers too.
Yeah. He was I mean, I remember talking to him about that, and he kind of was asking a little bit of what I thought about it, and I was like, if you can go learn from Bosa and Melvin, man, like I feel like that's an outstanding opportunity to take. You know what I mean? Especially as a pass rusher on the edge like that. Those two guys know exactly what they're doing, and especially Ingram, he's been doing it for a while. And Bosa came in and took the league by storm without injuries. He's one of the most dominant players in the league. So it was definitely an opportunity. But you can find mentors on any team, like you said, where there's talent on any single roster. Especially with the Bengals, where you look at their roster and they were kind of in a transition period. They just got Joe Burrow and the #1 pick in the 2020 draft, where that probably made you think in your mind, like, maybe this is my best opportunity to get on the field with a team that's trying to make a transition period and I'm trying to make a name for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So Ray, I got a question for you. So tell me what it's like and how it kind of happened where you hear about this new football league, the XFL, and then they call and just take us through that process of like, were you feeling like unsure about it because it's a brand new league, or how'd you feel going through that process?
Well, you know, my my old so the head coach of the East-West Shrine game, and then the tight ends coach of the Bengals was also the head coach and GM of the St. Louis Battlehawks in XFL. So it's Coach Hayes. So I had a close relationship with him, my time there, because he was also my coach at the East West. So we talked there, and we continue that relationship down to this day. So he drafted me to St. Louis Battlehawks. So before the draft, still always had a feeling I was going to go there because that's the team I was talking to. So once I was there, it was all a good experience. It felt just like the NFL. I mean, like, we had great facilities, great chefs. They took care of us. It's great talent. The talent was on our team was crazy. And then throughout, it was good. And I know they it was a successful season. They had a lot of money and revenue. The ratings on TV everything was great for the league. So now it sucks now that it's over now because of the whole pandemic. So I mean, there's talks and rumors that people are trying to buy for next year. So hopefully it's a thing next year. But it was a great league. It didn't end like the AAF through because of lack of money or because no one was watching. It was a successful league, so it didn't end because of anything negative. Just all due to this pandemic going on right now. So
yeah. And you're right that. Your team did have a lot of talent in the backfield. You had some proven NFL running backs. You had Matt Jones, Kristen Michael over there. There's probably some guys that you could really learn stuff from. Matt Jones was getting starter workload for like a year in Washington. So and same with Kristen Michael.
Definitely a lot there. Yeah, he's got a Super Bowl. So that definitely had a lot of experience. So that definitely helped. They taught us a lot, and we all elevated our game. From being in that league, better every day. We learned a lot, and we built those relationships and connections for moments to come. So overall, it was good. It was a good process.
Yeah, that's the one position I feel like even with competition, you really form a bond with, because running backs, they kind of all feed off each other. That you're all a different type of running back, and you can kind of complement each other, where you may have a power back, and then you may have somebody that's a really good pass catcher. And you see how like New England used to with Tom Brady. That's crazy that he's in Tampa Bay now, but New England, how they used to use their running backs, and with Tom Brady in the fold, where they draft Sony Michel in the first round, and they're still using James White, and he's scoring 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. So, what was that process like? How did you kind of stick to being a running back over other positions?
I grew up playing running back my whole life. Since I was 5 years old, and in high school I also played cornerback. But I never really focus on corner. I always consider myself a running back, and I was strictly running back. I did a little bit of slot at the XFL. Mostly I did slot at the XFL. I didn't do any slot really in college or high school at all. So the most slot work I ever got getting teams. Yeah, running back has always been my main position. I was recruited for cornerback from some schools, some colleges recruit me for cornerback, but I just never really had a love for it. And I like scoring touchdowns. So running backs, they get the name in the paper more than corners.
Yes, sir. That's another position, cornerbacks, and just secondary in general. They see any type of athlete that has serious skill. Like another example, another South Jersey kid, Anthony Avert. He gets recruited as a track star to Alabama, and then Nick Saban gets his hands on him and turns him into an NFL level defensive back. So I feel like any school that may already have a loaded running back class, that they really like the athlete in itself, they'll try and mold them into whatever. And usually that happens where they take offensive guys and try and turn them into defenders. So, but running back has always been my favorite position. That's something I can attest to. My favorite player of all time is Adrian Peterson. Who's your favorite running back of all time?
It's a lot of goats out there, but I would have to say LT.
Yeah. I was an LT guy, and then Adrian Peterson came in, and he just overwhelmed me with just how great he was. So Adrian Peterson actually played against LaDainian Tomlinson. His 8th game into his career, he set the single game rushing record, 296 yards versus LaDainian Tomlinson's Chargers. And I think that was also the game that was the returned field goal for the touchdown too. So that game was a little spooky and crazy in itself. But the running back position's always just been interesting because there's so many different facets to the game where you have to learn about pass blocking. You have to be able to catch the ball in the backfield. You have to be able to run inside, outside, and that really separates you from being able to fully take on that workload or just be a 1 or 2 down back. So what have you envisioned yourself? What was the number one thing that you had to work on, you think, from like the evolutions of high school football to college football to pros that you had to learn about the running back position that you may not have really focused on before?
Yeah, I mean, I say definitely pass blocking because I couldn't tell you. I don't think I pass blocked one time in high school.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one rep of me ever pass blocking. So like that was definitely an awakening because you go to college. I went to college at 17 years old, and then some teams you got 21-year-olds on the other team. So those guys are huge. So seeing those guys and then learning how to pass block, that was definitely my biggest test because it's not just pass block. It's not just the physicality. You have to actually know schemes and really learn offense and learn defenses and know your pre-reads. So there's a lot of things that go into that because no matter how good your pass blocking, if you don't know who you're blocking or like what plays you need to block, it's no good. So that definitely that, and then as go on in college and then get to pros, defenses become more confusing. There's more different types of schemes. So that was definitely I say the most challenging is knowing the offense and the pass block for any running back as the levels go up. But because running the ball, that's just natural half the time. When you're 5 years in the backyard, playing backyard football, it comes natural to you. So I say pass blocking, and I mean for me at least, and I can probably test for any other running back. That's definitely the biggest difference as the higher levels you go.
For sure. Yeah, because you're going from high school where you're not seeing those edge rushers where you have to chip them off the line of scrimmage and then you're able to release. In college is a whole nother story. You're going to have to get a chip on this guy. Your quarterback's not even going to be able to get you the ball within 2 to 3 seconds. So it's definitely levels to that stuff with that. But what was your greatest or like your fondest memory from football? What was the number one most special moment that you would say from your football career?
MVP at the junior year in college. That whole, not just that, but just that whole experience was the best. I had all my whole team there, all my guys there. My whole family is there. My girl was there. We were all there in Bahamas having a ball for a whole week. So, and then to add on top a win and me getting the MVP, is definitely the best moment of, I'd say, one time of my life, honestly, other than football. Yeah,
it's definitely a great experience. I mean, I live vicariously through South Jersey guys like you, just being passionate about the game of football and really wanting to see just South Jersey succeed in itself and seeing guys like you, Sterling, Corey Clement, Anthony Averett really make a name for yourself. Anthony Averett scoring that touchdown in the Super Bowl, which did you see that play? You know the play that I'm referring to, the toe tap in the back of the end zone versus the Patriots?
Oh, Corey, yeah.
You think that was a touchdown?
Yeah. Hey, they call a touchdown. I gotta go there.
Exactly.
I gotta go for touchdown.
Perfect. That's a running back answer right there. That's a running back answer right there. So I agree. There was also another one that was Zach Ertz call was also a little bit questionable too. But who was your favorite team growing up?
So growing up, I liked the Chiefs up until I was 7, 8 years old because I was a big Dante Hall fan. So and then I liked the Cowboys. My dad was a Cowboys fan. Yeah, it's crazy because my whole family was Eagles fans, but my dad's the only Cowboys fan in my whole family. So I just went with him and then started liking the Cowboys. So I would say I'm a Cowboys fan too.
So that was probably a pretty cool experience. Like you said, you see Patrick Mahomes in the locker room and everything, but not only just that is you literally grew up being a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So seeing yourself in that jersey was probably an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there a certain style of, you said your favorite running back was LaDainian Tomlinson, but when you study the game of football and like knowing what you're capable of and your size and your frame, was there a certain person that you studied or try to emulate your game after?
Yeah, definitely Maurice Jones-Drew. I watch a lot of him and Sproles, like third down back type guys, but can still, run and put the shoulder down. So I definitely consider myself a scat back, but I still can, get north south and run somebody over too. So
I've definitely
I
seen that
I
before.
definitely watched it. Yeah, I definitely watched a lot of those guys because they were definitely notorious for doing that throughout the league.
And you said Dante Hall as well. You brought him up as one of your
Yeah,
big influences of why you're a Chiefs fan. Have you ever actually returned? Like, have you ever been asked to do that?
yeah. I returned a lot in high school. High school, I returned about I don't know, a good amount of kick and punt returns. And then college, I didn't really play special teams because I was always starter and like impact player from when I was a freshman to a senior, so they didn't really want to risk me getting hurt on special teams. But XFL, I was doing punt return and kick return, so I definitely it's exciting play. I think it's the most exciting play, kick return and punt return. So yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that they're trying to outlaw as well. I know it's obviously a physical game, but playing
Hmm.
professionally that you know what you're getting into when you sign up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's not like you're playing football and not like I'm trying to avoid contact. You know it's going to be there at all times and all costs, and
exactly.
those plays sometimes can be very violent, but usually it doesn't really take that route. So I always thought special teams is a 30-30. It's a 33 split between all aspects of the sport where you make a big special
Oh,
teams
definitely.
play. Like, look at what the Eagles did in the double doink play. Everyone saw the double
Hmm.
doink play, and it was the kicker that messed up, but also the defensive lineman got his hand on the ball as well. So little plays like that really, really impact the game.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. If you're making plays on special teams, I mean, not every time, but almost every time, you guarantee you'll win. If you whoever makes the most plays on special teams, whether it's a forced fumble, kick return, or a touchdown, punt return, touchdown, those are both like probably be the biggest plays of any game.
Have you ever been involved in any like personal protector, like fakes or anything in high school or college or anything?
You said personal protector? Nah, only time I ever
Yeah,
did
like
PP
like
is when
they
I
fake snapped it to you.
yeah, I never had a fake snap to me because the only time I ever did a personal protector is when I was with the Bengals. So that's the only time I ever did PPA. And then growing up in the league in high school and stuff, I was always a gunner on punt and stuff. So I've had in high school one time my boy Miles Matthews. It was a fake. It was against Highland, and it was a fake punt, and it was a direct snap to him, and then he threw it to me out there in at a gunner position. I scored for like I think it was like 65 yards, something like that. So that's happened before.
I remember actually when you were a senior and I was a junior, I went to the Shawnee game. They kind of had you bottled up a little bit. And then I think it was either the third or fourth
Yeah.
quarter, and you got an inside handoff. You juked one kid out in the backfield, stiff armed another guy in the backfield, just spun, and then you were going 70 yards up the sidelines. And everyone's like, yeah, that's Ray Lawry. You know what I mean? You were kind of
Yeah,
bottled up for a little bit. They
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
tackling you behind the line of
yeah.
scrimmage, but you were kind of
No,
getting
yeah,
4 or 5
I
yards.
definitely
Shawnee's a
remember
really
that
good
game.
program. I think we all know that top 5 program around in
Yeah,
South Jersey. And then you just made this absolutely
yeah,
absurd play, and then I was like, okay,
yeah,
we know it's on the field right now. So
no,
I just remember seeing that. I was like, wow,
yeah,
this is somebody that I want to play against, especially for me. I'm a lot thinner now, but I used to
yeah.
play nose guard, and I was against the rival high school, so I always looked forward to that matchup. And then I ended up getting injured right before, so
Uh-huh.
it was really upsetting for me. But
Yeah.
I always followed your career, and like I said, it was fun to watch. Whether it was you returning kicks, or like you said, you didn't even focus on defensive back or basketball. You're a 1,000-point scorer, and you're making plays on defense as well. And then obviously on offense, you're just terrorizing the game. I think you went for 5 touchdowns on us Thanksgiving, the game that I was in a wheelchair on the sidelines on the track. You went for like 5 touchdowns on us, so it was a rough time.
Yeah, I
You didn't make
did.
my
I
dad too
remember
happy about that at all.
that. Yeah. I always
During
look
holidays
forward
for me
to
and my
Thanksgiving
family,
games. Play
man.
them no more on Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's funny.
But I appreciate you joining us, Ryan. I know you got to get out of here, and you're actually training people all the time. Is there anything you want to speak on about you training, or any
Yes, sir.
promotion you want to give about that?
No, I'm still in the groundwork of it right now. I'm just getting it started, but I'm about to start doing some personal training, running back training, with high school and people going into high school too. So whenever I'm gonna be doing it too in the area. So once it's all official and everything, get it all out so everyone can know what it's all
Yes,
about.
sir. It's awesome that you're using your platform for good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that during this epidemic,
sir.
they're trying to figure out ways to like approach things and really help people out. And you, somebody that's still in the grind and still working towards getting your own opportunity, you take time out of your day to help guys out like us and also on the football field and help train other people. So I really appreciate that, Ray. And thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Ray.
All right, now. Y'all be easy. All right, Nick. All right, see you guys.
Peace out, brother.